Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the M.O.B Podcast. It's your boy, Dak, a.k.a. Mr. Black Sheep, a.k.a. DK. And I'm here with Jake. As you guys can see, Dallas is missing because yesterday was Dallas's birthday. So, Dallas probably got a little... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, he recovering.
The homie recovering right now, so, we're going to give him a little pass right now. He probably got a little too many tequila shots, but... anybody who's friends with Dallas Monk, go ahead and reach out to Dude and tell him happy belated, So we appreciate that. All right. Now, moving on. And actually, Jake, I haven't given you a chance to introduce yourself. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people who don't know you, Jake?
Oh, for sure. Appreciate that. Homies just call me Jake, a.k.a. the albino black sheep, a.k.a., Dwayne Johnson stunt double,
oh, get the fuck out of here. Oh, Jesus. I was letting you rock, but come on. No pun intended. But this man. All right. Go ahead and finish your little bullshit, whatever you're saying.
No, I mean, got a good music project going called Survivors of Suicide. It is rock and roll and, metal focus, so it's a little more for the aggressive folk. But, just still out here, just making as many moves as possible.
For sure. For those of you guys who are watching, which is only two of you, but that's fine. For people who are checking out in the future, and you don't know what BSC is and the M.O.B Podcast, let me give you a little brief. So, the Black Sheep Collective is my brand. It's a brand that I made to give up-and-coming creatives a platform to, share their voice. So whether you're in music, entertainment, art, whatever it is, whatever genre of entertainment that you're trying to do and you're trying to get your name out there, that's what Black Sheep Collective is for. And the M.O.B Podcast is just a supplementary thing of that. We come on here, we talk about some real shit, normally things that affect, the black community, but we also talk about cultural and societal and just interpersonal, relationship type things as well. So, we every week we try to switch things up, keep things consistent and different and fun. And this week we got, this episode, we got something special for you guys. A little special. It's a little dark, but before we get into dark, I always like to ask the people, how was your week? So, Jake, how was your week, brother?
It was busy. It was, thankfully nothing bad. Unfortunately nothing great, right. But overall good. Work just keeps me at it.
Understood. That's the same thing, man. Work has been pretty slow, consistent but slow. And it's one of those things where I always often ask myself, why the fuck aren't we teleworking? But, it is what it is. We got the space, so I guess people want to use it for whatever reason, and I ain't going to trip, It's whatever. But other than that, it's been pretty cool. J. Cole dropped an album, The Off Season.
Why did he call it The Off Season? Is that something the fans are still trying to figure out, or is that
So he released his roadmap because he wants to retire soon. So he released a roadmap of the project that he's gonna put out before he retires. And there's the off season, and then I believe there's one more that I don't remember the name of, and then there's the fall off that he's going to release. And the fall off is supposed to be his last album before he officially retires. I don't know if he's gonna really retire. He's gonna pull the Jay-Z shit where he says he retires and still puts music out every once in a while.
Right.
It is what it is. But either way, I mean, let's real quick before we get into the brief or to the dark shit. Let's talk about this fucking album, man. God, this album was so fucking good, man. And for those who go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, even as someone who because hip hop is not my main genre, So even as someone who, I only like it just for, just because it sounds good,
right.
It's not it's not the radio stuff you be hearing, or if you're going to the grocery store, if you turn on the radio, it is a little bit better, than the mainstream. But mainly as someone who doesn't, do hip hop, like it's it's a thumbs up.
It's crack. All right. For those for you young motherfuckers who listen to this, because my little brother hit me up and he was like, hey, have you listened to the J. Cole album yet? I heard it was trash. All my friends were telling me it was trash, that it was decent. And I was like, first off, let me stop you right there. All right. For anybody who's watching this, if you a young nigga, all right, at the end of the day, J. Cole is not putting out no fucking bullshit music where, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for the melody, for the trap beats, for the
Right.
talking
right.
about the money, cars, and whatever, and all like the shit that really doesn't matter. There's a time and a place for that, and I'm not knocking that. I'm not gonna be like this old nigga who's like, oh, you gotta fucking.
They don't make them like that no more.
Back in my day, music actually said something. Because let's not even act like back in, 2000s, music was fucking like that. I mean, come on now. They had.
You can find me in the club.
Exactly.
Bottle full of.
Exactly. So I'm not even gonna sit here in front like shit is shit has always been like super conscious or whatever the fuck. But let's just keep it a buck. All right. There are people who there are rappers and there are hip hop artists. Right? There are rappers and there are rappers. And J. Cole is a rapper's rapper. All right? And if you don't know what that means, listen to the shit that this whole album was this man talking his shit, bruh. In his bag. Fucking songs like, let's just throw that out there. My personal favorite song is Hunger on the Hillside. It's the closing track of the song or the album. And I fuck with it because it's just him talking his shit. It's just him being J. Cole and saying bruh, y'all can't touch me, and I fucks with that. But the song that I've been constantly putting on repeat is that 100 mil, bruh.
That one is my favorite. That one's my favorite.
Let me tell you something. Jermaine, Vontavious, Caesar, Cole. All right, if you're listening to this, there's no reason to be that disrespectful, all right? We get it, my guy. You are rich as fuck. This man said 100 mil and I'm still on my grind. 100 mil and I'm still on my grind. Come on now. If that don't make you want to go and chase a bag, you're sleeping. I don't know what's wrong with you, bro. That song motivates the fuck out of me.
I mean, I don't get what's so great about it.
What do you mean?
It's 100 mil and I'm still on my grind. Okay, $100 and I'm still on my grind. Just because I'm broke doesn't mean shit.
Hey, you know what? That's how I feel. And that's what I'm saying. You ain't gotta be so disrespectful with it. We get it, my nigga. You rich, but you don't gotta be 100 million. I'm still on my grind. What's your niggas' excuses? Y'all ain't doing shit. Y'all still working at the 9 to 5. You still fucking working for the man. I make my own hours. Bitch, fuck you. Nah, the album is fire.
As we're just praising how good it is.
It's all, look, fuck you respectfully, J. Cole. I appreciate the album. I appreciate the song, the content you're putting out. There are so many hits. I don't want to ruin it for people because it is brand fucking new. Came out Thursday night.
Right.
So, midnight Thursday night, Friday morning. So it literally just came out. And I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't had the opportunity to listen to it fully yet. But my top 4, Hunger on the Hillside, fucks with 100 mil. Amari, a lot of you young niggas will like Amari because that's it's an eerie trap type song. And shit, let me see. And did I say My Life? My Life. That's a banger right there.
Was that the one where he talked about fighting P Diddy?
No. That was I think that was Applying Pressure. But
because I woke up this morning and I saw this little notification, and I guess people on Twitter were just going off on this on whatever verse he said. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was something like Diddy was trying to stand up to Kendrick, and then J. Cole was there, and so he stood up and to Diddy, and I guess shit got physical.
Yeah, man. And I'm surprised, man, because J. Cole he's not no little dude. He's He's like 6'4", yo. He's like, I mean, granted, he's kind of skinny, but he's still like 6'4". He's got a little weight on him.
Decent size, yeah.
You know, Diddy, I don't know how tall Diddy is. I think he's like 5'10", 5'11", or something.
I was about to say, isn't he like actually kind of short? Like,
but he's also
isn't he like 5'8" or 5'7"?
So it's like, bro, like,
true.
Dang, please, you know, I'm young. I'm like Diddy's in his 50s and or maybe late 40s. I don't fucking know. But Cole was fucking mid 30s, probably early to mid 30s. He's probably like 33, 34 or some shit.
Because I remember when he first started getting like kind of popular, I looked him up, and yeah, I think like back then he was like 30 something. So like he was early 30s. So I think now he would be.
He's 36.
Okay.
Damn, he's a little older than I thought he was. In all honesty, I thought he was like 33, 34 type shit. But all right, for sure. And then you know what? Let me look up Diddy's age just to.
I'll say Diddy should be old. He should be late 50s.
Oh, he's 51. So okay.
Oh shit. Okay. So
15 years. You know,
we're over here treating him like he's decrepit or something.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking Diddy was like a little bit older. Like you know who is younger than I thought he was? Fucking Snoop Dogg, bro. Snoop Dogg is 49 years old and he looks like he's 60. Like
right?
I thought like they say black don't crack, but damn, bro.
I don't know. He wrinkling though.
I'm about to say he's an exception. That man, yo. He looks old already. Like he looks old. And he's
it's crazy too. Like the complete 180 he did coming from Dog Pound, like up until now. Like I really do think him experiencing his whole like reggae life and whatnot. I think that really like changed his life because it seems like to me, as someone who doesn't follow him, it seems like to me that now it's all about him doing like he's like helping communities and shit, and he's like trying to be mentors to the young, and he's trying like he's giving back at this moment,
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I think, and I agree with you as well because I think he's, I think once you get to that position, it's like you gotta give back to the people who helped you get there,
Right.
So,
because I mean, at some point, it's all right. Like I can do whatever I want. I'm set for life. My kids are set for life. Hell, my grandkids are probably set for life. Like, what do I do with myself now?
Right.
Like, what else is there to do?
After you pass after you pass a certain threshold of like income, everything else is just extra.
It is.
There's only but so much money you can actually spend. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could spend a shit ton of money on like whatever bullshit you want to spend it on. But when it comes to like actually like, I just want to live comfortably and do what I got to do. If that's your mindset, then once you pass a certain threshold, everything else is just extra, bro. Like,
exactly.
Everything else is just, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I want to go to Italy today. So
yeah,
or I want to go to Italy this week. So hey, let me look up shit. All right, cool. Let me check to see what the fuck's going on. All right, you $5,000 for a ticket. Hey, baby, trying to go to Italy? Yeah. All right, cool. All right, done. We gonna pack your stuff. We gonna leave tomorrow. Like that's like. I feel like that's just where you get to once you make a certain amount of money.
Yep.
Yes.
You have no responsibilities. You have no worries because, like, let's say something does go wrong, right? You got the money to fix it. You got the money to address it. You got the money to take care of it. Like, there is a definite. It was funny because in my last apartment, my next door neighbor, right? I only saw him every now and again. I only passed him like maybe all of 3 or 4 times, but he was like kind of silent, kind of kept to himself, but you could tell he had like money confidence. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't out here like flaunting. He wasn't. Granted, he drove a Tesla, and I never not saw him in like a suit and shit.
Right.
So he was somewhat important, but he just like you could just tell he had no stress lines. It looked like he was on a skin regimen. Like you could just tell he was just comfortable. Like just chilling.
Yeah, man. That's just how it is, bro. Speaking of money, I know this is a little off topic, but we're talking about money. So, what's you been looking into Dogecoin? How you doing about that, sir? what you got, man? You been following Elon Musk in this meme cryptocurrency?
So, not to give financial advice to people, right? But the thing for those of you who don't know like what cryptocurrency actually is, right? It's this isn't like some universal currency. Like this isn't like a global dollar. Different cryptocurrencies have different functions. So that's why, there's Ethereum. That's why there's Bitcoin. That's why there's Litecoin. That's why there's blockchain. That's why there's, they all do different things and they all have different values, right? And so Elon with his Doge, he it started off as a meme, right? But it's still legitimate, and I I bought into it when it was like 0.0000002.
Oh, chill out. There's no way.
Like, bro, I'm telling you, like, and I was just like, fuck it. Like, I was like, fuck it. I'll be a part of the meme. Oh, ha ha, la la la. Right, and you just like you put the money into it, just to kind of be a part of the crowd, and then all of a sudden it took off a little bit, bro. I logged into my account and I was like, oh. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And so I got a buddy, right? And he's all crypto. Like he's the guy, And so I was like, hey dude, what's up with Doge? And he was like, sell it immediately. And I was like, really? Doge? And he was like, yeah.
Okay.
And he was like, sell it immediately. And then so I was just like, he was like, I don't want to tell you what to do with your money. But he was like, what I would do is I would at least take half profits at minimum.
Yeah,
take half profits.
Smart.
But he was like, I would sell all of it. And it got me thinking back to when I was fucking around with like the whole GameStop thing. And I was like, you know what? If it follows the same trend, and just, what I've been noticing since, that whole fiasco is as soon as something kind of becomes mainstream, as soon as it gets attention, it goes down. That's just what it does. Like 100% of the time. And so, yeah, I took everything out. I sold off everything, right? And then sure enough, it tanked, right? It went, I think it reached a high of 65, both actually. Okay. I think Doge reached a high of 65, and then it plummeted down to 40, and I think now it's around 55 if I'm not mistaken. But
right now, so I actually have also tapped into Doge as well, but I got it in a little later than everybody else. I got it in around like the 20-cent mark, and right now
that's good.
Right now it's at 50 cents. So.
Okay.
It's not like, I mean, granted, I made a little something, but
right.
I mean,
right.
Had I had the opportunity, or had I hopped on the bandwagon a little sooner, that would have been a lot more money. So,
but see, that's the thing though. It was never supposed to take off. Like
True.
It was a meme to start off with.
I've adopted this philosophy where every time Elon Musk says some shit, if he's like, oh, I'm gonna invest in this tech, or I'm gonna invest in whatever, or do whatever, I'm gonna put my money into it,
But see, you got to be careful though, because at the end of the day, he is still a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
And he knows what influence he has on the market. So, they say, I thought it was kind of funny how they made, was it 1.5 billion off of Bitcoin? They sold everything, right? And then they come out with a public statement that said, oh, we're not going to use Bitcoin until we find something that's more energy efficient. When there is a shit, like Ethereum, for instance, is 99% more efficient than Bitcoin. So, like, the technology is already there, right? There's already other cryptocurrencies out there. And so the fact that they come out and they say this and they do all this, it kind of just tells you that they're, just that they're lying, for lack of a better term. Like, right. It just tells you that they're lying. They said that, oh, we don't like using it, but yet you just pulled profits from it, and now you're waiting for it to go back up or something, and you're like, they're doing something, they're planning something, and then some people are saying that it's market manipulation, some people are, blah, blah, blah. But I would say I would be reluctant, in my opinion. I would be a little reluctant to follow Elon with what he does.
No, for sure. I mean, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, he knows what it is, and he's kind of like, even though it's illegal to do so, you can't really. It's hard to pin it on someone who's he's not really doing anything other than saying some words. So
Right.
and that's just on
Right.
he just knows the amount of like
Yeah.
influence that he has. But yeah, he also he has money to spend. He's like,
Yep.
I think he's constantly switching between him, Bill Gates, and fucking Jeff Bezos are constantly like going back and forth on who's the richest fucking person. In the
Oh,
goddamn
not anymore.
world.
Jeff has it now.
Well, I'm saying they're
Yeah.
constantly switching though. Like it
Oh,
always,
yeah.
it's between the three of them. But the point is,
Yeah.
those top three people are the richest people in the whole fucking world, and they're just able to like throw money at whatever the fuck they
Just
want.
do
throw
whatever
money
they
at,
want, like-
exactly. So even if
wild.
if I was him and I invested $1 million into Doge and it plummeted or some shit, like all right, well $1 million to them is like $10 for us. So it's like
Exactly.
it's nothing.
Well, he also has enough business avenues to like reallocate everything and just make it back anyways.
Exactly.
So like, it's literally just, oh, I lost money. Well, okay, well let me take that and let me make more money here. Like,
no facts.
they have that. They can do that.
Yeah, man. So, now that we got all the lighthearted stuff out of the way, there was a conversation and stuff that I wanted to talk about because I had this
Time to get dark.
Time to get the fuck out of here. No, but I had this conversation. I thought it was interesting. I was at work, and granted, this is not the most workplace appropriate conversation, but
Yeah,
we were just talking
whatever.
about things, and then basically the conversation about like what's going on with these kids and why these kids are
Right.
prone to be like more violent or whatnot, and more
Right.
specifically, we were talking about like kids who commit these like fucking school shootings, or just people, not even kids, just people who
Right.
commit these school shootings, and like what causes those people to do that. And there was a lot of conversations between my coworkers and myself, but there was a couple of things that they brought up. But before I tell you what they said, what do you think, Jake? What do you think makes someone go that far to the point where they walk inside of a school, walk inside of a movie theater, whatever, and commit this act of like just fucking killing
Right.
people for no reason?
So I'm going to say before the internet and after the internet, because
okay,
I think
good.
there is a stark difference, right, that needs to be noticed, right? Beforehand, with these mass shootings and these mass bombings, right? After investigations were done, it was found that these people who were doing, like the dude who shot up the Batman theater and whatnot, it was, yeah, he was stockpiling, he was constantly bullied, picked on, et cetera, this and that, and right, and that's kind of the common theme throughout, like that's kind of a common denominator throughout it all. But nowadays, right, when media is a constant, and I mean we all know, right, that the two things that will sell is violence and sex, right? On the violence side of things, basically these shooters are kind of getting their fame. And if you already feel like an outcast, if you already feel like you don't fit in, if you feel like you don't have anybody, like, and nobody knows you or notices you, right? On top of that, you're being bullied and whatnot, then it only makes sense to them, right? Because what these people see is, oh my God, there's so much attention on this shooter. There's so much attention on this attacker. Somebody will finally remember me, right? And so I think that's an integral part, like in this whole thing, because it's obviously it's multi-layered, right?
Right.
I don't think it's really just cut and dry, because there's gonna be 1,000 different scenarios for 1,000 different cases.
Right. It's
But-
multifaceted, and I
Yeah.
agree. I think personally, what makes someone go to those lengths is, like you said, I think it's rejection of some sort. Whether it's
Right.
whether it's rejection from their family, whether it's rejection from their friends or peers, or from the opposite sex. I think when people try to put themselves out there and they're constantly being rejected, like you said, it leads them to the point where they're like, I need that attention, I want that attention. How am I going to get that attention? And then not even that, they start resenting society. They go,
Yes.
oh, these people who do these things, they're always getting the attention. I saw, and I'm going to bring it up in a little bit, but I don't know if you ever heard of the Santa Barbara killer, But there was this guy, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the term incel. Not because you are one, but just because...
Jesus!
Again, not because you are one.
I mean, I wasn't thinking that until
Right.
you said it.
Listen, so for those who don't know, an incel is an involuntary celibate person. And that's the politically correct way of saying that somebody can't get no pussy or no dick. That's
literally what it is.
Like, they just can't get no pussy or no dick for whatever reason, whether it's their looks,
Involuntary.
whether it's their looks, whether it's their like the way they present themselves as far as like personality wise. They just, for whatever reason, they cannot get to the point where they can get some buns, and it it is what it is. But I'm not trying to like joke on incels or nothing like that. I'm just saying the people who either classify themselves as that or who get classified like that from other people, from society, they share common traits, right? And one of those common traits is that they're just socially inadequate. They're not able to like operate or function in a social setting properly. And because of that, they often get rejected by others. So,
Right.
Whether it's the opposite sex, whether it's their peers, if you see somebody and you think to yourself like, oh, this motherfucker's a creep or whatever, they're not going to, they're not going to make an effort.
Why would someone give themselves that label?
I don't know, man.
Why would you I mean, granted, you just said they don't know how to work like publicly and socially.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of makes sense from a twisted like perspective.
It's like one of those things where it's like
imagine like, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm an incel, and like
it's one of those things. They just embrace it, man. They just say fuck it. Like, I know what it is, and I'm just gonna embrace it. But
I mean, whatever.
There's a video that I want to bring up, and it correlates to one of the reasons why I think, again, this is a multifaceted issue, but I think a big reason is just rejection in general. And we're gonna talk about, we're gonna react to this video about this guy, and we'll see what you all think about it. Let me change this up. Yeah, this guy.
We begin this morning with new details of a disturbed young man's rampage in Isla Vista, California.
The horror story of mass murder in Santa Barbara, California dominates the news. A mad gunman kills 6 innocent people and shatters the lives of family and friends.
I talked to him about 45 minutes before he died.
E.T. talked with Richard Martinez, whose son Chris was innocently shot and killed inside the Isla Vista deli. Newly released surveillance video shows the terrifying moments inside the shop when Rogers committed the evil act.
He was really loved by a lot of people.
I'm still in shock. Like, I still don't believe it, but I know it's true.
Jeff Dolphin was Chris's former roommate and friend.
I heard about what happened in Ivy Deli, but I didn't know that it was Chris. And I walked by it this morning, saw the bullet holes in the glass, and was...
Sorry, I just want to interrupt this real quick because I see Rome DuPont say, what up? What's going on, Rome? Appreciate you coming through, checking out the stream. We're talking about some real shit today, but right now we're talking about incels.
Right, you done missed the J. Cole talk already.
Yeah.
was blown away by that.
The killing spree by Elliot Rogers was random and premeditated. Down the street, bullets started flying into Pizza My Heart.
One of the fragments ricocheted and landed by my feet, and I turned around and finally saw the rest of the store ducked, covered, gone, and realized that this was for real.
Anyone own this car?
All right, so I don't want to, because this is just the news video. I want to talk like specifically about this guy because he said some shit, and there's a video that I wanted to bring up. You know what? While we're doing that, and he was saying some like real, like, so he made a YouTube video and he uploaded it minutes before he committed like this thing, or what is it? Maybe it was days or whatever. But he was saying some like real like fucked up shit. Let me see. And the way he talked, the way he
was a young man so upset at his lack of companionship with women that he decided to kill them all instead. And although his day of retribution...
That came out strong.
Yeah, it did, and I'm trying to see if they have his reaction video. Elliot's plan. You know what? We'll talk about that later. I will find the actual video. I thought there was the actual video. But I want you guys to hear what he was saying. But Jake, what do you think would or why do you think that, like, not getting sex would lead somebody to be like fucking to the point where they want to kill somebody else?
It's hard to say. There's definitely that's kind of something that like just we as people share, right? Like when someone's frustrated, or someone's like irritated or irritable, right? Like kind of one of the first things you say is like, you're just like, bro, go get laid or something, like,
right.
And in women too, like when people are like frustrated and irritable, like for some reason lack of sex just makes us like angry. And I mean, I guess these are like hyper cases, and they build up over time, and like it's just all they like focus on, and I don't know, like.
No, yeah, I understand. It's difficult to pinpoint because I think the rational mind, we don't have that. We don't make the correlation between like no sex and I'm gonna kill somebody. Like don't get me wrong. Like I want to have sex. I want to do whatever. But if I don't get sex, it's not like I'm gonna kill somebody. But I do think again, it just leads to the bigger problem where it becomes a constant thing. And this actually could lead into a bigger conversation, but we'll save that for another time. But I was talking with the people at work, and I was telling them, it's rejection, it's whatever. And the people at work were saying, I think it's lack of parenting, which I can agree to.
Time. It always
I can agree
is.
to.
Yeah,
like like a broken home, and it's video games and music. So
interesting.
Yeah, video games and music. Now for me, I had to like, all right, look, I agree with y'all on the broken home aspect, but video games and music. Let's focus on the video games portion first. Video games, no. All right, I'm sorry. I've played like games like GTA, where I go and pick up a hooker and I fuck her in the car, and then she gets out the car, and then I fucking run her over so I get my money back.
You get your money back.
Get my money back and shit. And I'm not like, I don't do that in real life. I'm not sitting here like, all right, let me go get a hooker and then run her over with my fucking Subaru and get my money back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so I don't understand how people can think that violent video. And this is not a new thing that like.
No, it's not.
It's been going on for a while. Ever since games like fucking Mortal Kombat came out. It came out in like the 80s and early 90s or whatever. They were saying these violent video games cause people to do these atrocious things. But then you see stuff like,
it just goes back to, so it was always, there's always a blame, like, so I've done, right, like on this subject specifically, like I've actually done multiple like research projects. I've done multiple like essays. I've done multiple studies, right? And through the decades, right? At first it was the radio. Oh, the radio shows make these kids act up. Then it was the rock and roll, like when Elvis came around, and they were like, oh no, it's all that crazy music is making them act up, Right. And then it was the TV that makes everyone act up. Then it was, right, but there's always something to blame, right? But the difference, right, the stark and main difference between all of these mediums is that video games has never been connected to violence, right?
Never.
To outward violence, to any sort of violent projection, as opposed to music and movies, which directly inspire people to go out, because, right, they see something and they say, oh, I want to look like that. Oh, I want to be that. I want to do that. Or they hear somebody else say, oh, I used to do this. I used to do that. I run with these people, like blah, 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 blah. Like, especially when, just a little bit ago, motherfuckers were overdosing left and right, right? Because all these rappers were talking about, lean and Molly, and like they were doing like all this crazy shit. And then like, yeah, so it's fascinating to me, right, that even in this modern digital age where we have information, technology, and verifiable facts we have the sum of human knowledge at our fingertips at all times.
Right.
But yet people will still
Quick
cling
Google search.
to just what they want to believe, right? They will look up what they want to believe. They will expose themselves to what they want to believe, and
I think that
it's just a matter of fact.
I think the thing that people don't understand, because some people will say, well, you're doing this in video games, so what's the difference between that and music or whatever. I think that the biggest difference, right, is that when you're playing a video game, a lot of people understand that the video game is fake. Just at the end
Exactly.
of the day, it's a fake
That's what we
game.
call the uncanny valley. Exactly.
Right. Like we play the game. We know we're not some fucking, magical goddamn god who's going out and killing other gods. We know we're not some fucking, I don't know, gorilla throwing.
I'm not
fucking
some
barrels
super soldier running through fucking
like it's obviously fiction. Whereas when it comes to music and it comes to movies, right? For music, you have people, actual real people, who are saying that this is how they attained certain things. This is how they attained certain status. And because they're saying that, you may have people who say, oh, I mean, he did this to get here, so maybe I need to do it to get to here.
Exactly.
Or they're perpetuating a lifestyle where it's like, this is just how it is. And if, if you want to be real or you want to be whatever, this is what you got to do. You got to abide by like a certain set of codes and whatever. So people go, I mean, that's what it is. The streets is whatever. So maybe they commit certain acts of violence or, same thing with movies. Hell, I think, I forget what movie it was. There was a movie that inspired like fucking, the Ronald Reagan attempted assassination. I forget what that movie was. So the guy who tried to kill Ronald Reagan, right? Because he was one of the presidents that had an assassination attempt on him. The guy who did that did it to impress a woman that he saw in the movie. And you know what? Let me look it up real quick, so I can.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So let me see. Ronald Reagan, assassin attempt. Yeah. So he tried to he tried to impress Jodie Foster. His name was John Hinckley Jr. So John Hinckley Jr. tried to impress Jodie Foster. Oh, wait, was it John Hinckley Jr.? Yeah. All right. John Warnock Hinckley Jr. is an American man who on March 30th, 1981, attempted to assassinate U.S. President Ronald Reagan in Washington, D.C. using a revolver. Yeah. And
that's wild.
Jodie, just so I know this. Yeah. Hinckley was reportedly seeking fame in order to impress actress Jodie Foster, on whom he had an obsessive fixation with. Yeah. So I don't know what movie he saw or whatever it was. Oh no, it says it right here. Obsession with Jodie Foster. Hinckley became obsessed with the 1976 film Taxi Driver, in which disturbed protagonist Travis Bickle plots to assassinate a presidential candidate. The Bickle character was partly based on the diaries of Arthur Bremer, who attempted to assassinate George Wallace. Hinckley developed an infatuation with Jodie Foster, who played a sexually trafficked 12-year-old child, Iris Steensma, in the film. When Foster entered Yale University, Hinckley moved to New Haven, Connecticut for a short time to stalk her.
So he was already not good.
Yeah, he was in from the deep end, There he slipped poems and messages under Foster's door and repeatedly called and left her messages. Failing to develop any meaningful contact with the actress, Hinckley fantasized about conducting an aircraft hijacking or committing suicide in front of her to get her attention. Yo, what the fuck is wrong with people, man? That is like I don't get that. Like, who says, oh, I want you to look at me so bad, I'm willing to like fucking shoot myself, blow my brains out in front of you, and then you have no idea. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
It's literally insane. It's insane.
It's insane. And I think that's what it is. It's a combination of obvious mental health issues and rejection or whatever. But man, there's so many things that make people do these like atrocious acts. For you, well, you know what? Actually, before we go into there, I have found the video that I was talking about.
Which video?
The video of the man the Santa Barbara killer.
Okay.
I want to say man, but he was a boy. The video of the boy before he actually killed these people, and this is what he said. So listen to this.
The one who shot up the deli.
The incel, yes.
Okay.
Let me.
Video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the
Sorry, I'm gonna make this bigger.
day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you. For the last 8 years of my life, ever since I've hit puberty, I've been forced to endure an existence of loneliness, rejection, and unfulfilled desires, all because girls have never been attracted to me. Girls gave their affection and sex.
Real quick, why is this man talking like a fucking Batman villain? I don't understand why the fuck.
He's monologuing.
Yo, right?
He's monologuing.
Yo, what the fuck, man? Like, see, that's the thing, yo. When I say people who are classified as incels, like, share certain traits, like, dude, why the fuck are you talking like this? Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being educated and having, like, a certain vernacular where you want to, you know, present yourself.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. But this man is like, I am going against humanity for perpetrating loneliness and rejection.
This
like,
reminds
bro,
me of the what was the fucking the Spider-Man movie with Jamie Foxx when he was
Electro? Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
This is like the same shit. Like,
yeah,
it's almost a parallel.
But look at his like mannerism. Look at how he moves, how he looks. Like he looks
right like
someone who is like socially inadequate. You know?
Yeah.
He's trying to sound like an anti-hero. Yeah. Drake Pop said he's trying to sound like an anti-hero. I guess he is. Maybe, and you know what? That actually brings up an interesting point. He probably doesn't see anything wrong in what he's doing right now. You know? Like us, we look and we, you know, are obviously able to say, hey, something's wrong with you. But in his eyes, from his perspective, he's like, this is what needs to be done to create a better world. So maybe he really is a fucking Batman villain. I don't know. Let's continue.
And love to other men, but never to me. I'm 22 years old, and I'm still a virgin. I've never even kissed.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but looks like we got to the root of the problem, people. He's 22 years old, and he's still a virgin.
I mean, if he felt the need to voice that.
He was probably about to say he never even kissed a girl. Look, let me tell you something. For anybody watching this, if you're 22 years old and you're still a virgin, there's nothing wrong with that. All right?
Very true.
People are so obsessed with losing their virginity the fastest way possible. And I'm not going to sit here and be lame and be like, oh, you know, find that special person. And I'm not going to do that, right? But what I am saying is that there is nothing wrong with, like, not having sex while everybody else is having sex. And maybe that's another issue, is that socially applied pressure to go ahead and like and do something to fit in.
I think it is. Well, because also as much as just people in general, right, talk about it, that's an experience that he's never had. So now he feels completely left out, right, on something that, I mean, you could argue 100% of people have experienced, because for him to get there, you know, his parents had to do the deed. Like, you know, obviously he has, I mean, actually, I can't even say that. I don't know if he has friends, but they probably have. But, you know, he sees everyone else doing stuff that he can't do, or people won't let him do, you know? And so I'm kind of like breaking this down in real time. Like this, it's very interesting to just.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let's finish this video and then we'll talk more about that. But yeah, I agree.
Kissed a girl. I've been through college for 2.5 years. More than that, actually. And I'm still a virgin. And it's been very torturous. College is the time when everyone experiences those things such as sex and fun and pleasure. But in those years, I've had to rot in loneliness.
Jesus.
It's not fair. You girls have never been attracted to me. I don't know why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it. It's an injustice, a crime, because I don't know what you don't see in me. I'm the perfect guy. And yet you throw yourselves at all these obnoxious men, instead of me, the supreme gentleman.
Bro, there
All right.
wasn't nothing gentle about
Yo,
shooting shit
yeah,
up. What the
I'm about
fuck?
to say, I was trying to let this rock.
What the?
But I had to stop it because this man is obviously, look, I know we're laughing, right? And we're not laughing at like the situation that he did, right? So don't, for people who are watching, we're not laughing at that, right? What he did was an atrocious act. We're not entertained by this man or nothing like that. But I'm kind of laughing at the fact that, one, the way he's talking, but two, how are you going to say, like, this man obviously is a fucking narcissist, you know?
Yes, he
is.
is.
He said, in one hand, he said, women have never been attracted to me. I don't understand why they aren't attracted to me. You all want to go and hang out with these obnoxious guys versus the supreme gentleman. Nigga, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Who calls himself the supreme gentleman? Like
an anime villain?
Yeah, right. Right. This man is obviously, so there's no, and another thing that I think, and I want to point this out because this was very intriguing to me. It seems like he feels owed this. Right?
Yes.
Like he's like,
yes.
Woman, he's like, I did what I was supposed to do, so you're supposed to give me pussy. You're supposed to, recognize me and hang out with me, and it's your fault that I'm enduring this loneliness because you're not attracted to me. Therefore, I'm going to punish you for that. Like, who has this complex? Someone who's obviously disturbed. And if this is how the majority of people who are involuntary celibate or incels think, this is a very dangerous
it is.
mentality to have. Extremely dangerous.
Yes, it is.
Let's continue.
I will punish all of you for it.
Little anime laugh.
On the day of retribution, I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB. And I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up, blonde slut I see inside there. All those girls that I've desired so much, they would have all rejected me and looked down upon me as an inferior man if I ever made a sexual advance towards them. While they throw themselves at these obnoxious brutes. I'll take great pleasure in slaughtering all of you.
That's intense.
Yeah. So
I was laughing at his word choice, but Jesus.
Now, another thing that's concerning. So this was actually published on his YouTube page days before he did it. So now I'm kind of thinking, why didn't anybody take him seriously? Like, if I were to watch a video like this, like if somebody were to post this video on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and they were going to say, in 5 days, I'm going to go and murder somebody. I'm going to murder the kids of Gentry Elementary.
I'm going to slaughter an entire sorority.
Yeah, like hold on, bro. Like, even joke or not, like, because I guess it is kind of hard to tell whether or not he's being. I'm not even gonna say it's hard to tell, even though he's talking like a fucking anime villain. I think we can understand that he's like being dead ass serious. Like, even without the knowledge of. This man did something.
You can
atrocious.
hear it in his tone.
Yeah,
and you can see it in his eye. The intention is there.
Yeah, you can tell he's like dead ass fucking serious. So now I kind of feel. Now I'm wondering why nobody said anything about that. Maybe we can look into that later. Real quick, Pop said the immediate betrayal that his downfalls are society's fault means to me that he wants people to empathize with his plight to the point that we say, I can see how this is a rational response. Understood. So what he's saying is that what we were saying, how the guy was saying this is everybody else's fault because that I'm lonely. So he's basically trying to get other people who are in a similar situation to empathize with him, to basically go ahead.
Find it. No, I was trying to find the term for it, but he's kind of talking to his echo chambers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what he's doing. Andreas Walt, what's up, guys? Where's Dallas? Yo, what's going on, Andreas?
Hey, what's good, Andreas?
Hey, Dallas's birthday was yesterday, and Dallas got a little too turnt. So he's currently eating some greasy food and chilling in the bed right now, probably relaxing, trying to get over a hangover. But appreciate
Shit, I'm about to get me some greasy food.
Shit.
Let me hit up this DoorDash real quick.
All right. While he's hitting up the DoorDash, we're going to continue this video.
You will finally see that I am, in truth, the superior one. The true alpha male. Yes. After I've annihilated every single girl in the sorority house, I'll take to the streets of Isla Vista and slay every single person I see there.
Oh, he must be in California.
Mm-hmm. All those popular kids who live such lives of hedonistic pleasure while I've had to rot in loneliness for all these years. They've all looked down upon me every time I tried to go out and join them. They've all treated me like a mouse. Well, now I will be a god compared to you.
What the fuck?
You will all be animals. You are animals, and I will slaughter you like animals.
This dude has such a complex, yo.
I'll be a god, exacting my retribution on all those who deserve it. And you do deserve it, just for the crime of living a better life than me.
Wow.
All you popular kids, you've never accepted me, and now you'll all pay for it.
I don't want to watch this whole video. I think we can kind of get the... No, because I think we can get the gist of where the fuck he's going with this shit. And
right. And we already know what happens.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the remaining 2 minutes is him just fucking going off like some more about this. But this man really thinks he's like, like Rome said, moderate complex, straight Eisen monologue. Pop said straight Eisen monologue. Yo, exactly. This man thinks he's a fucking like a god. You know,
he really does.
And now I'm trying to figure out, how does rejection lead to somebody to that point? You know, like what? I wish I could find someone who was like a psychology major, or something like that, or a professor who studies some type of thing, or this type of subject, because I really want to know like how people get to that point. You know. That's crazy. This man literally said, I'm a god and I'm going to slaughter all you animals. He said, what did he say? He said, you are going to die simply for the crime of having better lives than me. What the fuck? You know, what, like, that is, what a terrible, like, mindset to have, man. That's crazy. And then, and for those of you guys who are just joining in, because I see we got a couple more people. First off, I want to say thank you. Second, this man, his name was Elliot Rogers.
Oh, he's dead now?
Yeah, they killed the fuck out of him. Yeah, I think he either got shot or he committed suicide, one of the two. But you know how it is.
Gotcha.
And that's another thing too. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. But Elliot Rogers, 22 years old. So Elliot Rogers was, I want to say it was 6 years back. Yeah, 2014. So, it's relatively recent.
I never heard anything about this.
It's relatively recent, man. He went on a killing spree at the University of California at Santa Barbara. And if you guys were listening in, it was because he felt like he was rejected and he had a life of loneliness and solitude or whatever. But the topic of this podcast in general is what leads killers to be killers, making of a killer. And one of them... one of the caveats that we see is that people who classify themselves or who are classified as incels, involuntary celibate, tend to, become these like terrible people as well. And this guy's like obviously the fucking king of them all because he fucking came and he decided, you know, I'm gonna kill people and just indiscriminately murder people just cause he didn't get no pussy. Like what a piece of shit. Man, that's sad.
Wild.
That is
wild.
That is so crazy. Yeah, I don't. Oh, Andreas Wall said he thinks that's the place so he could plead insanity at a trial. Well, you know what? Let me make sure this man actually did kill himself. Elliot Roger. My internet's acting a little slow. Is Elliot Roger still alive? No, he died. Yeah, he died in 2014. So yeah, basically he
so he
he
done.
either died by fucking police or
I
he
need
killed
the
himself.
closure, so I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, whatever, man. And it's another thing too, yo. I can't
Suicide by self-inflicted gunshot.
Yeah, suicide by self. So he shot himself in the head. Fucking pussy.
Yep.
I'm sorry, yo. And if you're gonna have the balls to do some bullshit like this, you'll have the balls to like if you're really a god, right? Stand your fucking ground, God. All right, stand your fucking ground and be like, and go to the masses and be like, you know, I did this because I'm a god and whatever. Like show your day, have your day in court. Don't be a fucking punk and kill yourself because you don't want to fucking deal with, you know, more scrutiny. What a pussy. All right, moving on. Let's talk about other caveats that make people into mass shooters. And I think a big one that applies to us, and when I say us, I mean black people, is racism. And with that being said, I'm pretty sure we all know who Dylan Roof is, right?
Interesting.
Jake, do you know who Dylan Roof is?
Nope.
You know who Dylan Roof is. You probably just don't recognize the name, but Dylan Roof was the guy who walked up into the church in South Carolina and killed everybody in the church.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yep. I noticed. The picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know who he is. So, you know, it's, and I mean, it's good that it's good that the names aren't necessarily being, you know.
True. Because there's
broadcasted,
no reason to glamorize a murderer.
Yeah, but he killed 9 people, and in a church.
Wild.
So he literally walked up into a church where he knew, and that's another thing about these mass shooters, yo. They
go to places where people are defenseless.
Exactly,
that's what they do.
Exactly, they want to commit a crime with the highest possible like outcome. You know, like they want to their goal is to commit as much carnage as they can. And they're, you know, it's crazy. It's just crazy how, you know. Let's go and watch this video. You can see a little bit.
Testimony continues next week in the federal hate crimes trial of Dylan Roof. Roof, who is white, is accused of shooting 9 black people to death last year at a Bible study meeting in a Charleston, South Carolina church. A 2-hour video recording was introduced as evidence on Friday. In it, Roof reveals his hatred of African Americans and his broader intentions when he barged into the Bible study group. Mark Strassman is covering the trial.
Fucking Bible study.
I went to that church in Charleston, and
Yep, it's all coming back to me. I remember this.
you know, I did it.
This is Dylan Roof's newly released videotaped confession to FBI agents.
Did what? Well, I mean,
He's fucking laughing. Piece of shit.
Was that what he's doing?
Yeah, he was like
sometimes to say.
It's not that I don't want to say it because I don't want to make myself seem guilty. I just don't really like saying it.
For 2 hours, he calmly outlined the details of the church massacre.
So did you shoot him?
Yes.
Listen to how he talks. Doesn't he sound like the other guy?
Yeah.
A Glock 45.
Surveillance video shows lambs leading themselves to slaughter. Mother Emanuel parishioners arriving for Bible study in June of 2015. In walked Dylan Roof. His fanny pack carried a .45 Glock pistol and 7 magazines loaded with hollow point bullets. The agent later asked, "Why did you do it?" Roof said, "I had to do it because somebody had to. Blacks are raping and killing white people on the streets every day. What I did is still minuscule to what they're doing to white people every day.
Let's stop it there.
Jesus Christ.
So,
bro, you want to know what's wild about that, actually?
Yeah.
Is when that happened, I was actually in Charleston staying at the hotel that's right across the street from that church.
Wow.
Just 4 days earlier.
That's crazy.
When that happened.
That's crazy, man.
I remember all of this now, like, cause my girlfriend at the time, she was like in a kind of like shell shock almost, like when it happened, and she was like, we were just there, what if this, what if that, like, she was like I could tell it kind of like affected her, in a way.
Yeah.
And I can't believe, well, actually, I guess it's a good thing that I don't remember who this motherfucker is, but
it's just one of those things. In another reason why it's kind of hard to remember is just there's so many of them. Like, this is not a one-off instance. This is a constant thing that we have going on with when domestic terrorists, and that's what I'm going to call them. When domestic terrorists,
that's exactly what it is,
and they commit these hate crimes and these atrocities, and I did some research on Dylan Roof when this happened because of course I was shook. I was in
right.
I forget when this came out actually. Let me see. This was in 2016, so I was in Japan when this happened. I don't necessarily remember what I was doing, but I do know for a fact that when I heard about this, I was like, you know what? Let me look up like this person. Obviously, I knew it was race related because he went to an all black church.
Yeah,
and did this.
Yeah.
But come to find out, he had been tagged by like the FBI's watch list multiple times because he had followed like KKK websites. He had bought and reiterated like racist manifestos. And he had made multiple comments where he was saying, like, blacks are the scourge of society and et cetera, and they need to be eliminated and all types of crazy shit. And again, is there a mental health reasoning behind it? Possibly. Obviously, something is wrong with this guy. There's a few screws loose in his head. But I think the bigger, more prominent issue here is just the racism part. The rhetoric that was pushed out by him and by the things he was reading and the people who wrote those, documents. Like, what the fuck, man? And I don't understand. I just don't understand how anybody in particular could have this mindset of just because somebody is a different race than me, I'm going to do this fucked up shit to them. I've never once in my...
It's wild that's a thing. Like, it's other countries look at us like we're mental, right? Considering our history. Yeah. Right. Because the fact that it is so ingrained, right, into our systems, into our societies, into our, there's all these... It's not a mystery that racism is still rampant, right, in America. America specifically, right? Because while there is racism happening all over the world, right, I've experienced, shit firsthand in third world countries, and the shit going on right now with Israel and Palestine, right? Like, it's insane how you see somebody else. And I don't know, I guess all this stuff just goes through your head, goes through your mind. You start telling yourself all these wild things. You start seeing what you want to see. You start hearing what you want to hear. And then it just drives you to believe that, oh, well, if they look like this or if they sound like this, then all of them are the same. They're all like this. They're all like that. And, they're doing this. They're doing that. They're doing blah, 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 blah. Right? Kind of like when the whole Trump and Mexicans type thing, right? And he was vilifying, right, a lot of the Mexicans,
right?
And it's common knowledge that a couple bad apples shouldn't spoil the barrel, you know? But yet, for whatever reason, we just see this on a repeated basis. And I mean, actually, I was going to say something, but let me not say it.
All right.
Because I don't know how to say it, so I don't want to put across the wrong message.
It's cool. You know what? And that's a good time, because there was a question that Pops asked. He said, question, how do you account for mass shooters who kill people of the same ethnic background? So, Pops, I don't know if you're just now tuning into the show. I know you've been probably coming in and out, but we're actually focusing on different aspects that make people do these crimes. So, for example, the first individual we talked about was an incel, right? And then the second, we're talking about a racist individual. I think but at the beginning, you know, I asked Jake and I gave my own opinion. Why do we think that people become these mass shooters? And we listed a bunch of things, but I think the thing that we both agreed on is the two biggest things is like their environment growing up and rejection from society in some type of capacity. You know, whether it's rejection from the opposite sex, whether it's rejection from their peers and their friends, you know, whether it's just rejection like from their family members. You know, I think that's the biggest reason personally why I think people do these like fucked up shit. And obviously mental health issues. Those three in combination, you know, lead to someone, or at least that's what I think, lead to someone doing this crazy shit. Because there's no other answer I could give, you know, that would make sense to me. And I'm not saying that these are okay, but I think it's like those are the only things I can think of right now. I'd ask you to consider nationalism. Ooh, interesting. Nationalism. You mean do you think? Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you mean nationalism, or do you mean a skewed sense of patriotism? And while you answer that question, we're gonna circle back. So, Jake, I have a question for you. Out of all the mass shootings and things that have happened since, you know, you've been an adult, what do you think is the craziest like instance that you heard?
I think the craziest one, and probably just because it was one of the few that I actually kind of like did a deep dive on and like read all the reports and looked up all the, you know, survivor interviews and everything, was the one in the Batman theater. Like there was like
Aurora,
I remember I was reading
Aurora, Colorado. Is that
I believe so. Yeah, okay. I believe so. When the Dark Knight, what was the third movie? You had Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and
Dark Knight Rises.
Yes. When Dark Knight Rises came out, and I remember reading one of because this one girl, her boyfriend, right? He took her to the movies. Dude started shooting up, and then the boyfriend like went on top of her, you know, to like protect her and everything, you know, because they went to the ground and whatnot when he started shooting. And she said like she just remembers him like being like still and like feeling like his blood like just drench her, like just all like dude, it was so vivid. It was so vivid. And I was just like, and she was like, then I heard like I guess the dude had trouble like reloading his guns while he was trying to shoot up the theater. So like I guess he was like cussing and everything, and he was like fumbling, and so when she like heard he was having trouble, that was when she like, you know, booked it. You know, that was what but it was just so fucking like I really do think that was kind of like the beginning of this whole like mass shooter craze almost, because now it's become commonplace, right? It's if you just look at the numbers, there's been an incredible spike in these mass shootings, right? Just in these recent like 3-4 years. And you have to, and that's why at the beginning of all this I say there's an important distinction to make before the internet and after the internet, right? It's we see all this stuff now because people are getting their airtime, people are getting, you know, their 5 minutes of fame, people are getting, you know, the attention that they're craving.
Right.
So I do think, what's up?
No, go ahead. Finish your statement.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I do think it's important that, you know, it's there's no reason why we should be remembering the shooter, right? Obviously, we're not gonna forget the event,
right.
But we shouldn't be putting their names out there. We shouldn't be putting their pictures up out there.
Right, because then we're just
you're just adding fuel to the fire, and it's just a toxic cycle. Exactly.
Yeah. I think for me, the one that was the craziest, just because it was the most like, it was. Don't get me wrong. All these acts are evil acts. And Pops, I see your question. We'll get to you in a second. But the thing that was like, the one that stood out to me the most was definitely the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting.
Oh,
because
easily.
you gotta be you have to be a real evil ass motherfucker to walk into an elementary school and kill people, like and not just people, children,
kids,
like defenseless children who you know for a fact are not going to have any way of fighting against you. To me, that was like the biggest like pussy move I could think of, for one. And two, like that was the one. Don't get me wrong, there were shootings before that. I believe the Batman shooting was before that. But
I think it was, yeah.
But that for me, that's when I was thinking. I was like, all right, something's got to be done. Like,
yeah, no, Sandy Hook is up there with Columbine. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's
those
to me,
those
it's
two were.
To me, it's like
it's
and just
in
because
my
of
opinion, I agree. Right,
and just because of the fact of, and don't get me wrong, they're all terrible. But just because of the fact of who was targeted, I mean, you know, children. Like there's no way of saying it. At the end of the day, kids are innocent. All children are innocent. Even though kids do some fucked up shit sometimes, whatever, they don't necessarily have the mental capacity to understand that they're doing something fucked up.
Exactly.
But the majority, 99% of kids are innocent kids, right? To go in there and to shoot and kill people. You know what? I don't even know if that dude died yet, because I know they gave him the death.
But then you see, so you say
he needs to fucking die, bro.
And
like he not.
I think we could all agree to that. Like,
and you know what's crazy? So this is gonna be a super controversial. Statement, and I know I might receive some flack for this, but let me tell you something, man. I believe the punishment should fit the crime, right?
Right.
But I do believe that we need to go to certain extents to make sure shit doesn't happen again. What I think we need to do in cases that are blatantly obvious like this, we need to reintroduce stoning.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yo, we need to introduce stoning. What we should have done was when this dude, Sandy Hook dude, did whatever. And, you know, I get it. Give him his fair process, whatever. Yo, we saw the man do it. There's video of him doing it. Once he's convicted or guilty, stop wasting taxpayer money to keep this dude and give him three hots.
So why not a firing squad? Because you believe he should go through like the pain and torture?
He needs to go through the pain, buddy. I'm sorry. And yo, I'm keeping it a buck. Have all the parents, all the parents who fucking who were affected by this, give them a rock. Give them a rock, man. And fucking let them do what they need to do to get their fucking. And will that necessarily make them feel better? Maybe not. But let me tell you something. If I was a person, like a criminal or whatever, and I thought to myself, oh, if I do this crazy thing, they're going to stone me to death. Maybe I decided not to do it.
Right? No, because consequences is a big thing, right?
But maybe I do, but maybe I don't.
If people see that these things are happening, right? If people like that are seeing that these things are happening, and they see that the consequence is either, oh, you just go to jail. All right, well, you still got 3 meals and a bed, you know?
Exactly.
Or you just commit suicide and it's a quick way out.
Exactly.
Like, what's the real consequence there?
Exactly.
You know
there is none. There is none, because at that point they've already forfeited their life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry. I know it sounds pretty heated, but give me a
barbaric, man.
I don't care, Give me a motherfucking, give me a rock that's like this big, I'm finna fastball that shit and pick it up and fastball it again. Cause I'm sorry, man, that's some fucked up shit. And then
see, they might have to give me a couple more because my aim really sucks. I don't.
Hey, just give me
that's part of the other reason why I don't do sports.
Yeah, give me a cinder block, bro. Fuck it, and then just release it to the masses, bro. Do like the fucking the Spain, how they have the bull run and the bull be running. It's like the opposite. That motherfucker running and everybody else chasing after him with rocks. Like fuck that. What the fuck? All right, so let's get back to these questions.
Bro, imagine opening up like an article and it was like Russia now instills the fucking stoning and they're chasing down people with rocks and like
I said, it would only be used.
What does that
in
make you look like from a third person like perspective?
It would only be used in the instance where it's like this, where it's a Sandy Hook thing or a Santa Barbara thing, where it's like the most heinous of heinous crimes.
Right, right.
Like that's what they need to do. And you know what? I don't want to get into other forms of punishment because we could probably say that for a whole other podcast. But let's go into these questions. So Pop said, I would like for you to consider nationalism. Many shooters who have survived attribute their goal to correct the wrongs of the country, be it Democrats or Republicans, black or white. They allegedly believe that the country was failing its citizens.
Right.
True.
And that is something that both of them said. Like, I'm punishing humanity. I'm punishing the blacks. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
So they believe that. So basically what Pop is asking is that, do you think nationalism plays into people becoming, these mass shooters or whatever? And I would in
a way, yeah, because everyone is justified in their own right,
Yeah, I would like to, I mean, I guess they do think that it's like this skewed sense of nationalism.
Exactly.
Another question, Jake, do you believe that there's an actual spike or that it's just more prominent because it started happening to affluent people? So basically what he's saying is, do you think that these mass shootings are like there's an actual spike since the Batman thing, or do you think that we're just hearing more about it because it's happening to like higher class individuals?
Both. I think that because it's not a mystery that shit doesn't go unreported. Right. We're only gonna know what we hear about. We're only gonna know what's actually documented, and it's right. People, motherfuckers, been fucked up and killing people since the beginning of time. Right. These people exist. They've been existing. They're gonna keep existing. That's just the way of the world. And I think, yes, I do think that there is. Right. And I say that there is, right. How do I say? I'm trying to formulate everything.
Right.
The reason why I was trying to stress before and after the internet is because the instantaneous access to information we have is a factor that needs to be considered. Because more than likely, if we look at numbers in the past, and if we equate that to how many times those cases still happened in other places, right? Like other cities around the world and whatnot, or just around the states, let's keep it domestic, just around the country, then more than likely all those numbers would be higher. There's probably more shootings that, we didn't hear about that just, didn't go mainstream.
Yeah, there's probably to classify anything that I think the actual definition of a mass shooting is, I believe it's like 3 or more people is considered an actual mass shooting, like by textbook definition.
Right. Because you have to define something.
As soon as I said that, literally the message came in where Pop said the same thing. Since mass shootings are classified as 3 or more, not including the shooter, crimes in the minority areas are not as widely reported as they are in affluent white areas. This is information from the Department of Justice.
Right.
That's what he said.
Right. And so once again, things just plain and simple, things go unreported. But at the same time, as soon as everything became and when I say everything, I mean information, social media, as soon as everything became consolidated, we saw an extreme surge in everything because now you can't hide anything.
That brings up an interesting question, and I'll ask you, and I'll ask everybody who's watching, because I see we have a couple people watching. So hit us up in the comments with your answer to this question. Do you believe that social media contributes to mass killers?
There's no way it doesn't.
Okay.
There's because these are people who felt rejected. These are people who feel like, society has failed them and they can't fit in. So now if they put on a public platform and they expose themselves internationally, they are going to find a community that will sympathize with them, right? Okay. It already started. There's a label, incel. There's a label for them. Right. So it's already started.
For
it already
people.
Exists.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So basically you're saying that everybody who has some type of beef with society, due to the advent of social media, they're able to find a community who shares the same ideologies as them.
Right.
And they're able, and that breeds, that fosters them to go on. And because in their eyes, like we were talking about, because I think the thing that we see, the common denominator between each individual shooter, regardless of the reason, whether it's, lack of sex or racism or racism, et cetera.
Right.
I think the majority of shooters, and when I say the majority, I mean 90%, what they think they're doing is they're making a better humanity.
Exactly.
So in their eyes, they have a hero complex. They have this... They think,
some sort of martyr type.
Exactly. Like, it's martyrism. Right. They think that this needs to be done in order to create a better society.
Right.
And social media contributes to it, because when they're in those spaces, when they're in those communities where people share the same ideology, they feel like it's like their reasoning is justified because they have proof on the platform. Whatever platform they're looking. That's interesting.
Yep.
That is interesting. Real quick, let's go to the comments. Dre Ballard said, "Negative Jake, it just doesn't fit the narrative, bro." I don't know what he's talking about in regards to.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
What do you mean? What are you disagreeing with Jake on Pops? And Andreas Waltz said, 100% basically thinks social media 100% contributes to mass shootings. So with that being said, then this is gonna lead. And I didn't want to necessarily. I wanted to keep this topic strictly on mass shooters, but this brings up a very good point that I think needs to be discussed. And before we get into that, let's see what he said. Mass shooters. This occurs in the hood exponentially greater than it does in white areas. Media framing promoted the negative aspects towards society because white children aren't normally exposed to this as black people are. So
while that's related, that's not the issue at hand, though. We're not specifically discussing racial issues. We're discussing just mass shooters. We are discussing the psychology behind the people that do these shootings.
I think where the disconnect is that, so you're saying that the spike started whenever the Aurora Batman thing started.
I would say that's the catalyst, but in my opinion, the actual spike was when Instagram became global, when Facebook became global. And when I say global, I mean that these platforms have more than 1 billion active users at any time, 24/7.
And I understand that. I think what Pops is saying is that while those are factors, that's not the actual catalyst. The actual catalyst is the fact that these are happening to white kids, more privileged kids, because they have been happening so again, in order for it to be classified as a mass shooting, right, it means 3 or more people have to be killed
involved
in the situation, right? A majority of the time, there are 3 or more people. There are a lot of mass shootings in areas that are like less privileged, more impoverished areas. So people in black communities, Hispanic communities, et cetera, those people have always had to deal with mass shootings. It's always been an issue, whether it's gang related, whether it's racially related. There's always been that issue, and it's always been prominent in those communities. I think what he's saying is that the only reason why we focus on that, or the only reason why it seems like there's a spike on it now, is because the media is framing it solely due to the fact that it's happening to kids who are more privileged now. It's happening to white kids. I think that's what he's saying. So I think what he's basically saying is that the issue has always been there. The issue has always happened in our communities. Because it's always been prevalent.
Then that's because that comes down to societal differences. In the black community, we know that this is nothing new. We know that in the worst neighborhoods and the worst places and all the fucked up places that shootings happen, people die every day. We know that's a thing, right? And that the reasoning from that comes from something completely different than the reasoning that we're talking about and that we're discussing right now.
Okay, so what you're saying,
that's a whole separate conversation.
Okay, so what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is that you're not disagreeing with him in the fact that mass shootings haven't always been prevalent. You're disagreeing with him in the sense that the reasoning behind the mass shootings has differed. So before, where we can all agree that it's been may have been racially motivated, or it may have been done, by gang violence, et cetera, the reason why it's happening now is not necessarily because of those things. It's more so because of people are seeing it and they want to become these martyrs. They want to become infamous. Right. They want to get that attention. So you're saying that it's happening now more so because of that factor.
Right, and it's more publicized now because once again, when you have systems in your society that are racially charged, right? The way that stories are spun in media, it's just just black people killing black people. Yeah, ain't shit changed. But then like, now a white person involved. Now this is a thing. Now it's an ordeal. Now we have to get into specifics. Now we have to investigate. Okay. Now we have to do this.
So,
you know what I mean?
So basically, the two of you and Pops, I see your message. But basically, the two of you are not necessarily disagreeing on anything.
Right.
I think you're the two of you are not arguing, but you're talking about different points here. Whereas you're saying that this has always been an issue. He's saying that he understands it's always been an issue, but that the reasoning behind the actual mass shootings now has changed. I think that's what he's saying, right, Jake? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it's now at a point where there are different kinds of mass shootings. We can define a mass shooting as a mass shooting, with X amount of people involved, right?
And we're talking specifically the mass shootings that are getting framed by the media. Is that what we're right?
Well, that's what we've been looking at. That is what we've been talking about.
So basically, I mean, the two of you guys are talking the same thing.
It's just different perspectives.
Different points of the same general concept. But that's good,
right?
So that's what's up. So again, moving on, and I guess this will be our last topic of today, just because we've been going on for a little over an hour now, and we don't necessarily have too many other things to talk about. But with that being said, so we understand, or we brought up the part that rejection by society, racism, the appeal of martyrism, these are different things that are contributing to people becoming these mass killers, right? So what do you think needs to be done to quell that? And specifically, because you brought up the point of I asked you, but you basically said that you believe that social media is becoming like one of the most prominent reasons why people are committing these acts. Do you believe then that we should start censoring people on social media? And I know that's a difficult question, so you can take your time to think about that.
It's actually not that difficult, right? Okay. I've already put some thought into this, right? Some, not a lot, some. Censoring is already happening because the platforms we use are already privatized. So there is no such thing as freedom of speech on these platforms. If you are using, that's kind of like this. It's the same concept of going into someone else's house. You're going to follow their rules, right? Whenever we sign up for a certain platform, whenever we sign up on another website, right? Tell me not, before you confirm your email, before, you have to, do you accept our privacy policy? Do you accept our terms of use, service? Do you blah, 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 right? And it's not, right, and we've been seeing a trend now where there has been more censorship on the internet coming through, right? It's slowly but surely, right? But it's still happening. And so to ask if we should start censoring is kind of an irrelevant question because the censorship has already been happening.
So maybe a better question would be, do you think we need to increase the censoring efforts?
So, but in censoring to what? Just to speech, just to content, just to
anything that could be seen as detrimental to like moral peace.
Right, and this is also where it gets a little more gray into the weeds.
Exactly, because it's a very subjective thing, right?
Well, because like we said earlier, that Elliot dude, he uploaded his video to YouTube, right? But I think every single minute, there is over 100 hours uploaded. There's a huge disparity. Let me not give out specifics because I haven't looked it up in a couple months.
Right.
But for every minute, right? Every minute that goes by, there is a multitude of hours that are uploaded to YouTube at one time. So it's near impossible unless you have an entire warehouse just dedicated, you know, to viewing these videos to make sure none of that stuff, you know, blah, 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 whatever, right? It's near impossible to catch everything. You're not going to.
Okay.
Right?
So then
this is where,
this
is where these systems of, you know, like you can report videos, you know,
right.
They have that, and that will directly go to somebody, right?
Okay.
Or now with technology, you have AI, you have bots, you have, you know, they can detect certain things, they can notice certain things, but it's not always going to be accurate, you know? If, like, it's going to be a lot different if, like, what are those, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, those guys? It's going to be a lot different if they upload something, right? As opposed to this Elliot guy uploading something. Right? A lot of people are going to see this. Not a lot of people are going to see this.
Right.
So it goes into a matter, right? And so that's why they have, report. But when you're an international product and you have millions of reports every single hour, right? And some people do it just to be assholes, you know, just to troll. So right there, you already have a large percentage of people illegitimately, you know, making false reports.
Right. So then
that sounds contradictory, but they're making false reports.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. So then by your admission, you're basically saying that trying to censor people on social media isn't necessarily going to solve the issue. I understand that.
It's a null effort, basically.
So then with that being said, what do you think, because we have some people in the comments who are saying some things, what do you think, in your personal opinion, what can be done to either help prevent future mass shooters or to better prepare people for countering mass shooters?
Right. And so this is partly where the gun debate comes into play, because the whole, you know, we need to take all guns away. We need to strip all guns. But in a country like America, who was arguably founded on guns,
right?
It's not realistic for our society, right?
Okay.
And the biggest takeaway, right, with the whole gun debate is, let's say you do ban all guns. Let's say you do take them all away. You do make it all illegal. But at the same time, these are criminals committing acts, right? So these criminals, they're still going to get guns, right? It's not going to stop, right? It'll deter some, right? But then that just means that the ones who are really about it are going to, that kind of, how do I say, isolates to when every extreme situation happens is an extreme, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I want to point out, and I know this is going to get a lot of people who are watching, who will either watch this now or watch in the future upset, right? I know it sounds kind of hypocritical to say guns can solve guns, right? Or the gun issue will solve the gun issue, or the shooting issue. But my ideology is, right, you got to think about this logically. Let's talk about these shootings and where they happened, right? We have the Aurora shooting that we talked about. We talked about the Sandy Hook shooting. We talked about the Dylan Roof, Charleston 9 shooting. And we talked about, what else did we talk about? We talked about the Santa Barbara sorority house shooting, right?
And
what do those things have in
denominator?
common? The fact that all those people in those settings, 9 times out of 10, did not have a way to defend themselves. Because what we have to understand is that people who commit these crimes, commit these atrocities, they're doing it because they want to, first, their main goal, right, is to kill as many people as possible without being stopped, right?
Exactly.
So they're going to do it in an area where people are the most defenseless, sadly.
Yep.
And I know it sounds hypocritical to say, you know, if you got guns and you can help out, whatever. But I want to bring up one shooting, and the reason why I want to bring it up, because I was thinking about this, I was waiting for you to finish, and the Pops just brought it up. There was a shooting in, I know you guys remember, there was like a string of shootings in Texas, right? There was one in El Paso, a couple others happening, but there was one in particular that kind of validates the argument, at least in
the
my
church
opinion.
shooting in Texas.
The church shooting in Texas, right?
This has been the whole time we've been talking about
and
this.
And the reason why I bring this up is because for those who are watching and don't know what we're talking about, and I'll actually get the specifics later, but let me just break it down for you real quick. There was a church shooting in Texas. Okay, a man walks in, stands up, and he pops one guy in the back of his head. right?
Mhm.
And before he had the opportunity to go and try to kill anyone else, like 4 people stood up with their guns drawn and ended that dude. Like,
Right.
And
Swiss cheese.
because of that, there was only 1 casualty.
Right.
Like, and
hey man,
and
you
sadly,
know what they
it was
say.
the
You mess with God's hour, you get the Sig Sauer.
But again, that brings up the point I'm talking about, because people, law-abiding, look, laws are for law-abiding citizens. all right?
Exactly.
Criminals are not law-abiding citizens. That's why they're called criminals. So they're gonna do whatever the fuck they want to do, even if we found a way. Let's say we found a way to storm everybody's house, to take literally 100% of guns from like the actual like United States and melt them down and fucking make them into fucking guitars or some bullshit. I don't know. But the point is, let's say we actually had the capacity to take 100% of the guns. Guess what? There's still knives. If people really want to do something, they'll fucking Google how to make up a bomb, you know?
Right.
Like, make pipe bombs and
that's
shit.
the thing with when we look at other countries for examples, right?
Mhm.
And for instance, Japan has one of the lowest crime rates actually they have the lowest crime rate in the world.
Mhm.
And you say, okay, well, what are they doing, right? One, you have a society that isn't so individualistic, right? Here in America, we're all about like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. I got my freedom. Oh, that's unconstitutional. You can't do this. You can't do that. Nah, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do that. Da, 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 right? But over there, it's more so one person says something, and you know they all do it, right? Granted, it's all justified, and you know no one's trying to really. There really is no dark politics from what it seems like over there, but that's a whole different discussion, right?
Right.
But part of the reason why, and I could be wrong, but when you go over there, right, you don't see trash cans, just in the streets, in the alleyways.
That is true.
You don't see that.
Extremely difficult to find a trash can.
It's
in fucking
extremely
Japan.
difficult, and the place is still extremely clean, right? And so when I first went over there, I said, how the hell, like, there's no bags floating in the wind. There's no dark circles of gum on the sidewalk. I said, how do they keep this place so goddamn clean without there being public trash cans, right? And from what I was able to find,
a community.
Yes, it's a different type of society.
Yeah, it's community mindset.
They are. Yes, and I mean, personally, that's how I think that's how I think everything should be. But right, that's besides the point. But what happened, right, with their subway bombings, when there was that biochemical attack and the terrorists released it was either mustard gas or I can't remember what it was, but they found that these bombs were predetermined and hidden in public trash cans. So when that happened,
so that's
right,
why
they took out. Yeah, they took out all
And
the
I think
trash cans
this brings
away.
up a very good point, because what Jake is saying here is that regardless of the fact, so again, what Jake didn't say is that Japan is a completely gun-free country, meaning that the guns are only attributed to military personnel, and not even military. Technically, Japan doesn't have a military, but that's semantics. All right,
Right.
The guns are limited to military personnel. But even with that stipulation, right, people still find a way to commit crimes, right? People are going to still find a way to commit crimes. So to bring this back to the conversation at hand, which was, you know, the whole how to prevent school shootings and whatever. People say removing guns. You remove guns, people are still going to fucking make mustard gas. People are still going to use knives. If a motherfucker is mad enough, he'll go on a fucking spree with a damn bat and try to harm as many people as he can. So with
That's
that
the
being
thing.
said,
We can't reach utopia. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, you're fine. What I'm saying is at the end of the day, you cannot expecting to take away weapons is not just going to automatically resolve the issue of people wanting to commit mass killings.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, all that's going to do is change the expression from mass shootings to mass killings. There's always going to be people who attempt to cause chaos on a large scale. The thing that makes it easier, or the thing that can not make things easier, but the thing that helps us prepare, and I wholeheartedly believe this again with the Texas shooting, is making it so that everybody is able to defend themselves.
Yes.
Right? If everybody is aptly prepared with, I mean, let's take it back to the Wild Wild West. You know, I know a lot of people don't want to fucking, I might talk about the Wild West because, again, it was times of racism or whatever. But the point is, in the Wild West, motherfuckers knew that everybody had a gun. So before somebody came through and started shooting up a place, they knew, like, hold on, before I shoot up this place, I mean, maybe I won't actually, because I know that maybe everybody else in the saloon has got a motherfucking revolver and they'll peel my top back. Yeah, you know, they'll peel my top back. That's just how we need to. That's how we need to encourage everybody to use their constitutional right of having a weapon. Now, this is going to divulge into a conversation that I want to save for a later podcast, one where we could have more people. Maybe Dallas, after Dallas gets over his hangover, we can dive deeper into, you know, the Second Amendment rights and should everybody have a gun or whatever. But I just wanted to ask the general question to see how we could try to quell these mass shooters. So yeah. But I mean, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Jake, appreciate you coming through. You know, holding the podcast down. Everybody who's watching the show, let us know in the comment section how you felt about it, because this is the end of today's episode. Again, I'm Mr. Black Sheep, a.k.a. DK, a.k.a. that nigga Dak. This is the M.O.B Podcast. We are going to have, next Saturday, we're going to have a very special guest. So you guys stay tuned to figure out who that is. But it's going to be the first special guest of our podcast series, all right? So, Pops, I want to appreciate you coming out. Andreas Walt, want to appreciate you coming out. Rome. Everybody who checked out. And
everybody.
Every single person. Again, you know, at the end of the day, the goal of this podcast is to have difficult conversations, but the conversations that need to be had, right? And the conversations that need to be heard, all right? So I hope you guys appreciated the content that was pushed out today. Y'all have a great day.